Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Hello, my name's Ben Thomas and you're watching Combat Sports UK. Today, I'm joined by Next Gen's Nathan Fletcher. First of all, Nathan, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. We're fresh out Cage Warriors 152 and you haven't got a scratch in sight. That must be a nice feeling, surely.
That is a very nice feeling, yeah. It's always good to come out of a fight unscathed. And this one is probably the least amount of damage I've ever taken. I don't even have a bruise on my leg, a mark under my eyes or anything. So completely flawless performance. And that's what we like. So yeah, I'm all good. I'm in very good spirits now today.
I can tell you haven't taken that smile off your face since you got in this call. But
that's come speaking to you, Ben. That's come speaking to you, brother.
My guy. Let's just get straight into it. Victorious at Cage Warriors 152 on Saturday in Manchester. However, it wasn't exactly the ideal lead up to fight night, was it? And an opponent change at last minute once again. Just how annoying is that, honestly?
But this time, yeah, it is frustrating in the build-up. I'm not going to lie. It's frustrating when you're in the camp and you don't know what's going on and you're getting guys and then they're sticking for a week and then they're pulling out and then you get another names thrown at you. A lot of the time people tell me, like, take it as a compliment. No one wants to fight you. And it is until literally no one wants to fight you and you can't even get a match. So a little bit of frustration, but I had a good conversation with Cage Warriors before it, all the team. And they reassured me. And with a little bit of luck, a little bit of unluck for Reece McEwen, but a little bit of luck for me, I ended up getting a really good fight, a really good opponent. Last minute, a co-main event slot. So all's well that ends well. And despite the frustration, yeah, I'm very happy with the way things turned out this time around.
I mean, you took that statement off Reece, so for you, it's kind of a win-win. Although it might have been a disruption for you because you've obviously gone through a fight camp, analysing one fight, preparing for their style, only for a new opponent to come in the last minute. But he is a well-known guy, obviously, on the scene. Did you know quite a lot about him and what he was going to bring anyway, no matter what?
Do you know what? Dan is someone who, when he signed for Cage Warriors, I knew I was going to end up fighting him at some point because he had a good record. He was considered quite a high-level prospect outside of the Cage Warriors scene in Europe. But when it comes to researching him, there's hardly any footage. So it's really hard to kind of get an idea of what he was going to bring to the table. But one thing we did notice was on his Tapology, he had about 6 triangle chokes. So most of his wins were coming from amateur and pro, were coming from triangle. So that was the one thing that we drilled fight week, was just like late stage triangle defense, early stage, like not being in his guard, passing straight away, stuff like that. So not once did we actually drill me attacking a triangle, but that's just MMA for you. That's the way things go. But yeah, so that's kind of what I knew about him. I knew he was a good level, but I hadn't seen much footage. But I knew the level I was at and I knew the training camp I'd had and the shape I was in. So they could have literally thrown Aljamain Sterling at me on Monday when I got the call for Daan Duijs, you know what I mean? And I would have taken that fight. So yeah, I was ready for anyone.
I mean, that would have been a fun one. But have you always found it difficult to find a matchup under the Cage Warriors banner? Has it always been something you've struggled with?
Do you know what? On my run to the title, I was okay. So when I was like 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, I was banging out fights back to back to back. I went from after COVID, we went Lee Mitchell fight, then straight away turn around and fought Martin Yoni. Then after Martin Yoni, I fought Brian Booland. Then Woodin was also on that card, so me and him made sense to go next. So it was kind of like, at that point in my career, I knew who I was going to be facing sort of after the last fight. And then, for whatever reason, when I got beat, which I thought really once getting beat, people might like fancy the chances and think, oh, there's a way to beat this guy. He's not unstoppable. But yeah, for some reason, I think everyone knew the level I was at. They saw the title fight. They saw how it was going. They see the rest of my record. And another thing, I think, what really puts people off is not just have I got a good record, but the level of guys I'm facing. All my opponents have got good records. So it's not like I'm 8-1 against 8 trash cans. Do you know what I mean? I'm 8-1 and I've never fought anyone with a losing record. Majority of the guys I've fought are like either undefeated or 8-1 like Daan Duijs, or 6-1 like Alessandro, or 10-3 like Brian Booland when I fought him, or 6-0 like Martin Yoni when I fought him. So you can see the caliber of guys that I'm taking out. I'm finishing them all. So yeah, I'm not surprised that no one wanted to fight me for that little window. So we'll see now. I'm probably going to struggle even more now to get a match after that the weekend, but fingers crossed I could get something locked in.
I mean, this is kind of the perfect opportunity. Have you got a message for any of the Cage Warriors bantamweights out there right now who may be watching, who might be thinking, "Oh my God, I want to duck this guy." Have you got a message for them?
I'm not that scary, honestly. Please, just like take a fight with me. That will be my message. I don't want to put them off anymore, Ben. Do you know what I mean? People are that terrified to fight me. I can't be coming and giving them all shit and try to tell them. But like, just I'm not that scary. So please take a fight with me. I hope some is. We'll see what happens. We'll see now. Realistically, besides the two in the title fight, I'm the man to beat now. After that performance at the weekend, with my whole resume that I've got, I'm the face of the Cage Warriors bantamweight division. I don't want to sound big-headed or egotistical, but I've been around the division the longest. I've got the most credentialed opponents. I've beat them all. I've got the most finishes. I'm the man to beat if you want to get a title shot. So if I'm not already the number one contender, my next fight's going to be a number one contenders fight. So that should be incentive enough for somebody to want to step up and fight me. Definitely.
I mean, it's safe to say we found out pretty early on in the fight as to why there are so many Cage Warriors bantamweights avoiding stepping in the cage with you. It was done in one with a beautiful triangle choke after a beautiful transition. And in my opinion, it was the most flawless performance you could have possibly put on at last moment. And anyway, there's no way you're going to top that probably, even if it wasn't last moment. But obviously, you've had time to watch the fight back now. What are your initial thoughts on the performance? Just pure flawless?
Yeah, I was happy with it. To be honest with you, this fight, right, I wanted to showcase my striking a little bit because I've been working a lot on my boxing in particular. And in fight camp, it's the best my striking's ever felt in all of my rounds. And then I had a grappler as an opponent. So I was like, this could be a good fight for me to showcase. Normally, when two grapplers face each other, they end up standing on their feet anyway. So that's how I thought the fight was going to go. And then we had a little feeling out process. And I just about got my range down. I caught him with a nice right hand to the body. What I felt sinking a little bit, and then I was like, right, okay, I've got the range here now. I'm going to start feinting him up and landing my strikes and picking him off. And then right at that moment, I went to step in and throw another shot, and he level changed and took me down with a beautiful takedown. And then we were just in the grappling world then. But I felt very comfortable. It was nice to actually have a grappler attack me with grappling in a fight because a lot of the time it's me attacking my takedowns and stuff. So I know that I've got good scrambling. I know that I've got good takedown defense, good submission defense. So it was nice to showcase a little bit of that. Before I reversed it, and then obviously went with my grappling attack then. But yeah, in terms of a performance, it was as flawless as it could get. Like you say, I've got no damage whatsoever. In and out, first round, finished the triangle with a triangle. So it's just all perfect storybook ending, really.
I mean, just how big of a statement was it? Not just to get the win over a guy like Dan, but to finish him with his own move. How big of a statement was that?
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? It makes it all the sweeter. Like if I'd have just finished him with a rear naked or if that arm triangle had gone on, it would not have been as satisfying. That arm triangle I thought was tight, but it obviously wasn't meant to be. The universe obviously wanted me to finish him with his own move, so that's why I had to adjust. And then yeah, it couldn't have gone much better. I'm very, very happy with the performance, very happy with the result, and I feel like I'm in a good place now moving forward in my career, and I'm very excited for what's next.
I mean, when you locked in that triangle, were you ever tempted to throw up the classic Nate Diaz style when you locked in? Maybe give the fingers, lock it in? Was that because it was tight?
It was tight. I could
to...
have. That's just not me. Do you know what? I'd love to have the bottle to do something like that, but just imagine if he slipped out. I couldn't live with myself. So I was very focused. I had to get the job done. Do you know what I mean? I knew it was on. But in MMA, anything can happen. Sweat. There's a little bit of blood coming down from his forehead. Anything could have happened. So I was just squeezing as hard as I could, waiting for that tap, and then I exploded and celebrated and jumped over the cage and did the double biceps and all that. But until it was finished, I was just focused on that triangle.
I mean, I'm sure there's nothing more awkward than maybe throwing out those Nate Diaz hands and then getting finished with like ground and pound. I can imagine how that would feel for anyone. So,
do you know what I mean? I'm not willing to take that risk. That's just not. I don't fancy that at all. So I don't want to be a laughing stock of the internet and get all memes made about me. So yeah. I'm made up. I never done that.
When you look back at that submission, where do you rank it in terms of your best? Because in my opinion, that's got to be very high up in the list. It was absolutely slick and so flawless.
Yeah, right now, obviously it's fresh on the mind, but I would say that it's my favourite of my career so far. One, because I don't get a lot of triangles, even in the gym. I'm not a massive triangler. I'm pretty well rounded with my jiu-jitsu, but my most common submissions are rear nakeds and head and arm triangles. They're the two subs that I hit the most in the gym. And then after that, I'd probably say it's all front headlock stuff like guillotines, anacondas, darces. I very rarely actually triangle people off my back. So to get that against the high-level grappler in a co-main event slot with a flawless performance and all the things tied into it, it's definitely my favorite win so far of my career.
So what's next for you? We obviously touched upon it a bit earlier on, but we've got a huge bantamweight title fight coming up on May 6th between Kalen Lachlan and Dylan Hazan. Are you looking to potentially fight the winner of that bout and book your slot in a title fight?
I mean, I think I could, yeah, but that all depends on how their fight goes. If it's a war, which I think it is going to be a pretty closely contested fight, I don't think either man's going to go in and, I mean, you never know, but I don't think any man's going to go in and just wipe the floor with the other. So whoever wins that, I feel like they're going to want to have a little bit of time off afterwards to recover any injuries they might have. And also, after fighting each other, two young, good prospects, I doubt they're going to want to turn around quickly and face me and defend the title against me because it's a big risk. And I feel like the winner's going to try and sit it out and maybe try and get a UFC call up or, you know what I mean? All that stuff's going to go on. So I'm not necessarily guaranteeing that one of those is going to be my next opponent. Do you know what I mean? The title probably, I feel like I deserve a title shot. Do you know what I mean? I feel like my performance, especially at the weekend and everything surrounding it, warrants a title shot. So we'll see. But I'm not focused on anything I can't control. I'm going on holiday in 2 days. So I've had this week to kind of chill a little bit. I'm going to go away with the missus, enjoy a bit of downtime, and then I'll be back for 1st of May. So from that point, I'm going to focus on improving, getting better. There's a July card there. There's the UFC in London in July. So I'll be staying ready in case there's any last minute pullouts at bantamweight. There's a lot of options. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just going to focus on me, focus on continuing to improve, developing the mindset, developing the skill set, going from there.
I mean, I literally just spoke to Luke Riley a moment ago, and he said to me he wouldn't be surprised if he saw you take a last opportunity at UFC London in July. But out of interest, how do you see that bantamweight title fight playing out? Do you see a certain guy getting the win, leaving with a bout over their shoulder? Do you know who you'd rather fight out of the two?
Yeah, I've said this in quite a few interviews. I've answered this, and I don't want to look like I'm shitting on Kalen because people might think that I don't like him or whatever. We've had a little bit of back and forth, but I actually don't mind Kalen. Do you know what I mean? And I think he's a decent fighter, but I just think Dylan Hazan's a higher level. I think these factors going into the fight, right? So Kalen cuts quite a bit of weight for the title fight, 5 rounds. I think that's going to come into it. Dylan doesn't cut a lot of weight because he's fought a flyweight. Kalen's more of a grappler now. I think his style is like use his physicality, use his strength, get a position on people, pound them out or submit them, looks to pin them against the fence and take them down. I don't see him being able to do that to a grappler the level of Dylan Hazan. I think Hazan's going to be a bit more efficient in all the grappling exchanges, whereas Kalen will be using a bit more like brute strength and force. I think that'll result in him getting tired quicker than what Dylan will do. And I see Dylan getting it done, either decision or stopping him. Now, I could be wrong. Kalen could surprise me. I won't mind if he did, because I won't mind fighting him for the belt. I think that would be a huge fight. Having the history, I've already beat him at amateur. He's a bit of a mouthy bastard, isn't he? So I think the build up to it would be fun. I wouldn't mind going back and forth with him. So we'll see. That could be a big fight. But personally, I think Dylan Hazan gets it done.
Well, there we are. You've heard it here. Dylan Hazan gets it done. But it was a mixed bag for Next Gen on Saturday night, winning I think it was 3 out of 6 or something along those lines. But there's one teammate I want to discuss, Luke Riley. Did you see any of his fight while you were backstage warming up?
No, I didn't. So I got there, I watched Liam Gittins fight because he was on a good few hours before me. So I knew that, regardless of the emotions that I'd feel after that, I'd be able to settle myself and calm my nerves. But Luke and Adam were both on the start of the main card, and I was fighting within 30 minutes of them. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't want to watch and get a big adrenaline rush when they won, or get an adrenaline dump and have all negative emotions if either of them lost. So it was. I think I played it smart there because Luke was in an absolute war, a brilliant, entertaining fight. So I know if I'd have been watching that, I'd have been riled up and full of adrenaline. And then obviously what happened with Adam's fight, I didn't want to see any of that before I had to walk out and do my thing. So I waited till I got back afterwards, and I very much enjoyed sitting down and watching Luke's performance after my fight when I got home. But beforehand, I don't like to, especially right before, I don't like to watch my teammates because I've got to focus on what I've got to do. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Do you believe that first round between Luke Riley was one of the best you've seen under the Cage Warriors banner? Because in my opinion, oh my God, I was just sat watching it with my mouth wide open. I was like, what is going on? Do you reckon that was
You know
one of
what?
the best you've seen?
It's right up there. It's right up there. The only other round you could argue what comes to mind, which was similar, except there was a finish in that one, was Josh Reed and Nathaniel Wood. Their
Oh,
first round was very back and forth, similar to that. But yeah, that was an unbelievable fight, to be honest. Fair play to Luke's opponent, Callum, because no one's really tested Luke like that before. Do you know what I mean? He was a super high level guy, and I think he's going to go on to be a big name in Cage Warriors and in MMA in general. He's a tough kid. And like, I know how hard Luke hits. I know how hard his body shots are. I know how good those knees are in the clinch. And for that Callum to just eat them and keep coming at him, like, fair play. He's an absolute dog. And so is Luke. Do you know what I mean? Luke's got that in him. He's a dog when he needs to. He's very technical, but if he needs to be in a war and bite down and throw, you've seen there that he's very capable of doing it. But yeah, that was a brilliant fight. And a good performance as well to fight someone of that level and come out with the win. He's learned a lot. I think initially afterwards he wasn't very happy with his performance, but I think the more he watches it back, and I think as well as this Callum's career goes on, people are going to see how good he is. I think Luke will be very happy with the way he fought there.
yeah, he literally said that a moment ago, and he said that there's potentially down the line there's going to be a rematch between them two in the future. But it makes it even crazier how Callum took that on 10 days' notice, flew over from America on the Monday, went in there against one of the biggest prospects, one of the hardest hitters, and dropped him. It was like crazy. But despite being injured and potentially sidelined for the rest of 2023, Paddy the Baddy was at cage side cheering you on and the rest of the next gen guys. Just how much of a motivation is it to have a guy like Paddy at cage side, despite being injured and out for the rest of the year, cheering you on and shouting instructions from the side?
Yeah, Paddy's the best teammate you could ask for. Do you know what I mean? He's always been about the team from day one. Even when he's got this huge platform now, he's always putting us on his stories. He's always sharing the guys' fights, sharing our accomplishments and bigging us up as well, which he doesn't need to do. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, he's got his own career going on. He's got his own stuff to promote, but he always takes time to pick up his teammates and he uses his platform to promote all of us. So, and not only that, he's been where we all are now. He's been a young prospect on Cage Warriors. He's come through the same ranks as we have. So it's good to have him there as sort of like a figure to look up to because we're in the spot now where he was a couple of years ago and we're all aspiring to be where he is now. Do you know what I mean? So to have that in a teammate and a friend, it's just very, very important for us all. And I think like we're very lucky to have Paddy and Molly sort of leading the way for our gym. And I say this all the time, but they've definitely like kicked the door down for us. They've shown us all what's possible. They've shown us all that if we keep doing the things that we're doing, our dreams can come true. Like their dreams are coming true now. So it's very inspiring. And yeah, couldn't ask for better teammates than what we've got at next gym.
And you were also joined backstage by the gangster himself, Mr. Oban Elliott, who returns in a week's time against James Sheehan. I caught up with Oban yesterday. He told me a story about how you both shared a changing room on the night that you lost to Dominic Wooden. Just how much of a boost was it to hear Oban, a man who's been through every situation almost that the game can throw him, at similar age to yourself, giving you advice after taking your first professional defeat?
Yeah, mine and Oban's friendship's massive to me, and it's interesting because we haven't actually met each other that many times in person. Do you know what I mean? We've shared a changing room once or twice. We've been on the card together a couple of times and met in the Cage Warriors hotels. But he just understands all the emotions that come with the game. He's been through it himself, like you say. Oban's someone who I respect massively because he's had a loss, what wasn't you could put down to external circumstances, and then he's had all the hype around him. People jump off his bandwagon and write him off. Then he come back and got a massive, impressive win. And then his next fight, he got beat again. So he's been up and down. He's been on the emotional roller coaster. But I just love his mindset, the way he approaches the game, his attitude towards it. And he's a good, like, to be honest with you, for someone who's not on my team, I don't know him that well until this point. For him to constantly check up on me, constantly be sending me Snapchats after the fight, to be in the back with me, to share a moment with me, to lift me up and say, listen, you're going to be all right. Look, I've just come back from this. I've just experienced all of this. That was very, very touching to me. And now Oban's going to be a good mate for life. Do you know what I mean? So it's nice to have someone who's not necessarily a teammate, but feels like a teammate, even though he's from a completely different gym and a different weight class and all that. But I feel like we're kind of on the same journey together. And it's nice to have him there to just reflect back on and speak to. And all leading up to my fight, we were messaging in the fight camp. And then now it's his turn to go this weekend. So I've been sending him inspirational quotes and getting him in the right mindset, ready to go. So yeah, I'm made up. It's a boss friendship we got going on. So shout out to Oban, the gangster. What a guy.
Are you ever going to come down here to Wales and train at Shore MMA?
I don't know about that. Reece McEwen trains at Shore MMA, does he? So he's in my division. Do you know what? I've thought about that because Jack, obviously, Brett Johns, the likes of them are there, and I think they'd be great training partners for me because similar size, both super high level guys. So I would never say never. Do you know what I mean? But for right now, potentially could be fighting Reese at some point in the near future. So I don't reckon it's very wise for me to march down to Shaw's mixed martial arts and just pop my head in there. I don't think I'd be welcomed very much with Reese being there.
Maybe not. Maybe Oban can go up and visit next
Maybe
year.
Oban can come to us for a bit. Yeah, we haven't got anyone. He's already fought Bonner, hasn't he? So I don't see Oban fighting anybody else from our gym anytime soon. So he's always welcome at next gym.
There we are. Yeah, don't go down to Wales. There, it might not be fun for you. But
No, might not go down well.
how do you see that fight between Oban and Sheehan playing out? Because it's a bout that is promising fireworks.
Yeah, both again, two great prospects. These are the fights I like. It's two guys going in who potentially are on the cusp of a title shot, a UFC career. So they're the fights that you want to see. They're the fights that should be happening on Cage Warriors. People sometimes complain and think that, like, for example, Vucenic and Hughes, two young guys who could both be in the UFC. It was almost a shame for them to have to fight it out for one of them to go on and the other one to, you know what I mean, sort of stay behind. But at the same time, I love the idea of, like, we're out to prove we're the best prospect. We're the one that should be getting signed. We're the one that should be going up, not this other guy. So that's exactly the opportunity what Oban and James have now next week. It's a very evenly matched fight. I personally think skill set wise, they're near enough identical. I think Oban's got a little bit more punching power. There's a few more stoppages. James is very technical striker, but maybe doesn't let his hands go as much, whereas Oban tends to look for the finish a little bit more. He's a bit more exciting. In the grappling department, Oban's got as well. I think people maybe don't respect Oban's grappling as much as they should, but his last few fights, he's fought Matt Bonner, who I know is super high level, and was able to take him down and secure takedowns on him. And then his last one was up at like middleweight. Bearing in mind, Oban's fought as a lightweight, and he out grappled and out wrestled his opponent in that fight. So I feel Oban's going to have a strength and a grappling advantage going into this fight also. But Sheehan's slick with his jiu-jitsu. So it's going to make for a very entertaining fight. I think, is it going to be his co-main? It'll be on the main card anyway, that. So
it's co-main event.
Yeah, well, there you go. It should be. It's a cracking fight. Two great prospects. And obviously, I'm rooting for Oban. I hope he gets the job done. But regardless of the result, it's going to be a great fight. And both lads are going to showcase how good they are. And I'm excited for it.
And it's also in James Sheehan's backyard. I mean, that's
going to be exciting. Crazy. I don't think Oban's the type to even be phased by that. Do you know what I mean? Nope. But again, it's that is a factor. What you've got to take into account.
Yeah, he's definitely not the guy who gives a shit about that. He said to me yesterday, he's like, "Oh, what are they going to do? I'm the security." So exactly. He's not the guy who's going to be worried about that. But finally, before you head off, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to? Any of the fans? Anyone who supported you throughout fight camp and now after?
Yeah, definitely. So just all my sponsors really that have been with me, especially through the tough times I had in my layoff, the 15 months I had out the cage. I had a lot of good sponsors stick by me and continue to support me, which was obviously very, very beneficial to me and allowed me to continue to train full time. So Finer Filters are my main sponsor, who I believe you guys know very well, with Sean Clark there. So shout out to Sean. Jack Harper, another one of my main sponsors, and then Just Wings Southport again, one of my main sponsors. The three of those guys are a massive help to me. And then I had so many for this fight, to be honest. I don't want to name them all in case I forget, so I don't want to piss anybody off. But if you go over to my Instagram, you'll see my walkout top for the last fight. That's got all my sponsors on. I've tagged all the companies in that. So I had a good probably 10 or 11 companies come on board for this fight and support me, whether that be financially or with aid in other areas. So I'm very grateful to all of them backing me. And yeah, I've got the best support system around me possible. And that's what you need in a sport like this if you're going to try and achieve great things. So I'm very thankful for everybody that backs me, all my friends and family, and all my sponsors and all my teammates. So shout out to the lot of you.
Well, there we have it. Nathan, congratulations on the victory at Cage Warriors 152. It's always a pleasure chatting with you, and we can't wait to see what happens next, and we can't wait to catch up with you next time. It's a career that promises major success, and we can't wait to see. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate that, mate. Nice to speak to you.
You too. Thank you very much.